fellow people of freedom, fellow people of liberty, fellow people of the free world. It is one of the darkest days today. Today is the 10th, 22 October 2018. It's one of the darkest moments in African history. It is one of the darkest moments for the black. It's one of the darkest moments that one can ever imagine. It is the darkest moment in West African region. It's the darkest moment in the neighboring surrounding La République du Cameroon. On the west by Nigeria, in the south by Central African Republic, Gabon, and Chad in the north, and West Cameroon, now Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Today is the darkest moment where the people of the neighboring country, La République du Cameroon, witness a dramatic change of event where the people, young children, will never forgotten. It is the moment that they witness the political atmosphere of cloudiness, atmosphere that full of chaos, the atmosphere that citizens were supposed to believe it should be a promising change of event. It turned out not to be exactly what they predict. So today is marking the worst moment in African history. One will expect Africa to be more disciplined, more cautious, and understood the fundamental principles of the world of the life. But unfortunately, it's still difficult. So Africa still needs emancipations. Emancipations when arms are being kept in the hands of a few that control the social and political, economic and aspect of African descent, with self-interest and some individual European countries, especially the French government. France would rather see a murderous slaughtering of Africa rather than seeing the political atmosphere of peace and tranquility. So, the brutal force of the judiciary police of the neighboring country, the descent on the homes of activists, political activists, members that just witnessed a change of event. For example, Justice Emile Essoma, one of the members of the La République Constitutional Council, has indicated his willingness not to participate in the joint declarations, has witnessed a massive military surrounding his compound. Of course, justice must be free. The three arms of government, the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive, these three arms of government must fight for check and balance. When one arm of the government controls all aspects of the government, using the repressive military against the will of the other arm of government, and this is what it leads to anarchy, anarchism. It's already an anarchism in La République du Cameroon. When Justice Emile Essoma witnessed his home surrounded by the entire military against his wish to admit wrongdoing of the La République, headed by 86 years old, the brutal dictatorship, Paul Biya of the neighboring country. It's not just only him alone. It's not just him. He is another arm of government that was supposed to check and balancing the three arms of government to allow freedom to succeed. But unfortunately, that is not the case. Another person who is not even part of the deliberation, Kawala, his homes has all been surrounded and he cannot even exit to even have access to the main route of his home. This is an absolute amazing to fight this absolute destructive force in West Africa. It is quite amazing. Professor Maurice Kamto, the campaign manager, Paul-Eric Kinge, he was picked up by the judiciary branch of the Yaoundé Judiciary Police. He was picked up and his whereabouts is not known. Remember, this repressive system that is destabilize the peace and tranquility of the neighboring country, La République of Cameroon. We know that the world has turned eyes blind. The world, including all the various embassies in the neighboring country, La République du Cameroon, they absolutely remain silent despite the aggressiveness. They do not see as part of the changing democratic vision of Africa. Instead, they become part of the complicity of these destructions. And you will imagine that most of those ambassadors and representatives of the diplomatic corps will be present today to witness the most brutal system. Instead of them to stay at home and tell him that this is not the country we believe we are, our representative sent us to witness. But it is sad event. It is absolutely sad event. When I see diplomatic corps ambassadors for France, ambassadors of Great Britain, ambassadors of Russia, and all the various ambassadors, they will be present and witness a draconic individuals ascend to the throne using every aspect of the military. It is a sad event. It's not that the Saudi Arabia, the worldwide is condemning Saudi Arabia because a journalist just make an entry into the embassy and out of a sudden he was nowhere to be found. There is probably indication that Saudi Arabia murdered a journalist and he witnessed a worldwide condemnation. It shouldn't be just because it's only Saudi Arabia, just that they are most condemned. There should be universal condemnations in any part of the world, especially when the journalist is concerned. Journalists play an important key role in an effective democratic government across the whole continent. But when we choose to side with one individuals because of their position, because of their high level in the world, and we ignore a certain part of the society, then we are not making justice for the rest of the world. It should be fairness. Justice should be fairness. Fairness should be applied universally to every individual countries. Today, as I'm speaking, the director of L'Afrique Media was picked up by the same judicial police in the neighboring country, La République in Yaoundé. His whereabouts is not known. He may have been feared death as previous other journalists have been kidnapped by the brutal military of the neighboring country, La République. And yet the world stands amazingly ignored, neither to see this as an important clause that they have to condemn to the greatest high level. But yet the world remains silent. Today, let me read some of the names of the people that is going to be ruling La République du Cameroon. It is very, very sad that the world remains silent to see an entire generation that they ought to have retired, but are now playing the life of the people that are currently still younger. Take, for example, the old brutal dictatorship that is suffering from psychosis, mentally depressive depression. He has no recollection of the wife's name, neither the children. He urinates in the midst of his office, and sometimes they constantly changing his office frequently. He walks from his office and he can't remember where he actually left. Sometimes he has to redirect it to his office, and yet he is today sworn in the face of various community, international and diplomatic court. I'm going to witness Paul Biya at 86 years old, whom I just described, that is suffering from psychosis, mentally and depressive disorder. He can remember where he moves and where his next steps. He can't even remember his own room. He can recall his own personal wife. He can remember the last name or the first name of his children. And yet, he is being sworn in today as an elected president, because you have military that lack knowledge, skill, common sense. Of course, head of those military are people of the same age, and they're suffering from similar disease process. And that is why they are being sworn today in a disgraceful way. Imagine Paul Biya, before he moves to at the age of, in the next 7 years, he will be 92. And imagine someone already suffering from mental retardation, mental depressive psychosis move. Another person is Nyat Nifeji Maxelt. He is the president of the Senate. This individual is of the same age, equivalent to Paul Biya himself. You have Kava Yegi Jibril. He is of people of the same age. These guys have been in the midst of the Society of the People of La République du Cameroon. And yet we have them. They will be sworn in today. You have Amadou Ali, Vice Prime Minister, 74 years old. This may not be accurate age. You have Achidi Achu, 83 years old. You have Director of SNH. He's 78 years old, Adolphe Modiki. You have Martin Gele, Internal Security. He's almost 86 or 87 years old. The years that I have here is inaccurate. He controlled the police department. He's suffering from mental